the ever-changing weather around the world, ever-diverse terrain and roads across the world. With Kumho Tire that has conquered all. There is no road you cannot go. Go with Kumho. Kumho Tire.
I ain't playing weak, no, I'm playing for keeps. Can't stop me, I'm a legend. I run with the crew that's making the moves. Get out of the way, we coming through. We got this, never stopping, and we won't lose. No, we can't lose. Yeah! Are you ready? Yeah! We are the legends. We are the legends. Yeah! Are you ready? We are the legends. We are the legends.
Welcome to the Norwegian South for Rudskogen. It's round 4 of Split 2 for the V8 veterans. So sorry about the delay on the broadcast, guys. Had some technical difficulties there, but we are finally underway now. I'm very excited for this week. Brand new track to the vets, brand new track to iRacing here is the Norwegian National Circuit of Rudskogen Motor Centre. I am your commentator for today, Hamish Munro. As we are here every week, we try and call the exciting and brilliant action of V8 Veterans Split 2. If you guys are excited, I'm excited as well. Let's just quickly check out your qualifying results, if it will allow me to do so, on the broadcast. Oh no, please don't tell me we have. Oh wait, it'll help. Sorry about this, guys. It'll help if I was actually further along in the session than what I actually am. Let's just quickly talk about the track for a moment here. So, brand new circuit. A lot of sort of TCR, Formula 3 driving around this circuit normally in real life. So, a first for supercars to be here at such a circuit. I've done a couple of laps around here. I did the safety car last night for Split 3, so I got to do a couple of laps around the circuit as we see the drivers come out now for their warm-up. And you know, it's quite a nice track. It is really, really good. I did a couple of laps today in the supercar. It was very hard. It was a very, very hard couple of laps that I did. So I commend these guys for giving this circuit a crack, because it's an absolute blinder of a circuit, but it is really, really difficult. So we're going to see who can make the best out of it today, out of anyone. Let's just quickly give you guys a rundown of the championship standings at the moment. So we'll go through sort of the top 10. So currently at the top of the championship is Mark Houghton with 520 points. Just below him, Simon Heddersheed, 504 points. And just below him, in third place, Peter Latham, 456 points. So only 34 points between the top 3 guys. Then you got Marty Hansen and Troy Sipple, who are both 40 points behind the leader of the championship on 480 points. Just below them, Stephen Greck on 464, then Gary Buckland and Damien Cross on 460, then Paul Burns on 454, and then rounding out the top 10 is Adam Simpson and Brett Taylor, both on 448 points. So it'll be very, very interesting to see how the season sort of moves along and how much better it gets throughout the season, how close that championship stays throughout the rest of the season, because it's an incredibly close race series. It's a fast growing and fast field out there. So these guys are all going to be fighting hard and trying to really show us what they're made of out there. You know, they're really going to try and race hard, work hard, and prove that they are the best, you know, for their age group and for supercars drivers alike, because you got to remember, these guys, they're all over the age of 40. They're all very, very quick drivers, but they're also very competitive. So this season is shaping up to be fantastic. Last week at Road America, unbelievable, absolutely exciting race from all of these guys, especially in Split 2. I mean, the amount of carnage that we had going in that race was, I'd say it was phenomenal viewing. And I hope that this week we can have some excitement still, but still have some really, really close racing as well. So I'm just trying to get our grid up for the race, and for some reason it won't let me. So I must apologise for these technical difficulties today. It's just not my day apparently. Apparently it's just a foregone conclusion that I am stuffing this up, and I must humbly apologise. I am so sorry about that. Yeah, that one's working on my screen. But yeah, so this is going to be, I reckon, an incredibly tight and close race. And I think it's going to be something that we should all be very, very interested in seeing play out throughout today. So, why is that coming up like that? That looks absolutely, oh my god. Why is it coming up like that for? I'm still trying to figure this out, ladies and gentlemen. I'm so sorry about this. I do not understand why it is not showing up properly, and I must seriously apologize for these issues that I'm currently having for today's race. This is coming up. They're just starting to come up onto the grid now. I'm hoping we can get this sorted out before the actual race starts. We see Todd Duggan there, pole position. Actually, no, he's in 4th position. The front three have not actually joined the grid yet. So we'll wait for them to join the grid, and we will see what can happen when we go racing here today at Rudscoden Motor Centre. As they're all just beginning to grid up now. Give us another view of the grid there. So they all just start to load in. What can happen today? Who can take advantage of their starting positions? Who can do this? You know, Stephen Grech on pole. What a fantastic job he's done there. Brian Minogue second place. What's going to happen into turn one? You know, we got Scotty Van Loon, Todd Duggan just in behind. Mark Houghton, 6th place. You know, winner of 2 of the previous 3 races. He's always in for an inside chance in these events. So these are going to be the guys that we're going to have to try and keep an eye on. And we've always been saying throughout the whole season that you need to keep an eye on these sort of upper echelon guys. You know, top 15. They're the guys that are constantly up there, and they always have got a chance to win the race. As we see them all getting on the grid, they're revving the engines now. When are we going to get racing with these guys? Let's just focus on the leader. The pole sitter, Stephen Grech, in his number 10 Old Mate and Sons car. What can he do today in this event? I do apologise as well that the overlays are not quite up yet, guys. STK is being an absolute pain right now. So I'm trying to get this done as quickly as possible before we get racing. As they start to rev the engines now. Getting ready to go racing here at Rudscogen, and they are away. Nice and tidy start there off the line, it seems. Minogue got the jump massively there on Grech as they come into T1 now. We see them all just moseying on around. See the pack there. As we follow Grech as they come down the hill through the massive sweeping right-hander. Slightly off camber as you come through the first part of the corner. See Duggan there just right up the backside of Grech. They come up now through the S's. Such a tough corner on the circuit because you get to the top of the hill and then it's just a sudden left as you're coming round. Very, very easy to go wide there. Something that you do not want to do. Come now, what a great camera angle. You see them all coming into another very undulating corner. This track completely full of changing elevations, you know, elevation changes throughout the whole lap. It is an incredibly difficult circuit to race, incredibly difficult to try and maneuver, especially in a supercar. As they come up now to come onto the second lap of this race. We're still on here with Stephen Grech. Let's just check through the field a little bit. Troy Sippel, P11 at the moment. Going pretty well for Pecky's performance. And then we'll check out Paddy Monday just coming through T1 now. Check him out here above them. What a great sound the cars are. Absolutely fantastic. Big lock up there from someone just there. Matty Monday also a slight lock up as well. As they come round the corner as we just sit in the roll bar now. We can watch the wheel work and the pedal work coming up through the S's. Nice and smooth here from Matty. Brilliant job by him at the moment. As they come up once again through the undulations, making their way around the circuit. through. So you can see we'll come up now, back up towards 2-1. Let's go back towards the front of the field. We'll check out Mark Houghton, last week's winner for Taipan Esports. He sits right up behind Paul Burns at the moment. As they come up down towards the right-hander, bit of dab of brake, shifting down slightly as they come through. Todd Duggan seems to be going a bit slow here. I have to wonder if something's happened to him there. As he comes through, we can see what a great shot, seeing all the cars come up through the S's. Absolutely fantastic. Fantastic racing at the moment. Come up now towards T1 once again. That again, that's such a tough corner to get right. You know, you brake that little bit too late, and it can be all over coming through that corner. It just mucks up the entire flow of that first little section there. So come round now. And we come down the hill. Just up here with the leader, Brian Minogue, for the moment. See him traversing through the final corner now. As I said, this is just such a tough track to get right. And one that, you know, you make even just the smallest of mistakes, and your lap can be done, and you can be in the wall or in the sand. We follow these top two now of Grech and Minogue. Minogue doing an absolutely fantastic job at the moment. As they come through the long right-hander at the top of the track. To come up through the S's now. Such a good section of driver. The laps that I did today in the supercar around here, just a fantastic feeling to come round this track in these cars, especially up through that section. Come down the bottom of the hill now, up. And you can see the elevation change there. They come down that steep bit of hill, but then it's straight back up again from the bottom of the hill. Unbelievably difficult circuit, and it takes unbelievable skill from these guys to traverse through this circuit. They're doing an absolutely amazing job. An amazing job. Come up now up to T1. Let's check back through here. See these guys here. We see Mark Houghton, Ron McKee, and Paul Burns. Paul's just beginning to hold up Mark a little bit now. So we'll have to see how this plays out throughout the race. Make their way up through the S's once again. Let's check back here. Matty McMillan will go on board with him. So he's rocking the Lando Norris helmet there. Here's their big Commodore. Ooh, big lock up there from Matty in his WKMP car as he went round the outside. Just getting held up a little bit here by Damien Cross. That Century Motorsports car. So they make their way up now to cross the line. Coming on to lap 6 as they come through T2 through one of the fastest and, as I've been saying, one of the hardest areas of track to maneuver and to sort of try and manipulate your car through. It's so incredibly hard to try and get this right, as we see a big knock there to Damien, and I think Matty might be trying to redress that. That was possibly a bit of impatience. Possibly a bit of something else. So we just see them now come up. Come down to the bottom of the hill to come back up now towards the infield once again. So they come down now towards T1 once again. Just check out the leader, Brian Minogue, controlling this race at the moment. Oh, it's a bit of a blink there for Brian. Oh, he's back again now. Very interesting. So we'll have to see if that becomes a problem later on in the race for Brian. See him and Steven, they're starting to break away a little bit now from the field. They have built themselves quite a nice little gap back to second. 3 seconds back to Scotty Van Loon in P3. 4.5 seconds back to Todd Duggan in P4. So these guys are beginning to run away with it here. They've done their homework. They've done well to practice for this track and get used to its conditions. We'll just go up now to the chopper cam as they come through the trees, through what I like to call the forest section of the circuit, down towards the bottom of the hill. Very important to get your braking markers right. You don't want to run wide there and possibly end up in the sand or even in the tyre wall. As they make their way round. Oh, even seeing the shot there of the cars in the background as they're coming down at the bottom of the hill, you know, sort of completely around the other side of the track, but you can still see throughout the whole circuit. It's great. Unbelievable to see this sort of action on this track. Making their way up now towards T1 once again. Let's check out through the rest of the field. We'll see Darren Goosey here, just ahead of Adam Simpson. Doing very, very well at the moment. See there, back on the chopper cam. Check back now. Let's check out Michael Power, just slightly behind them in this little pack. starting to build. Well, Munro here, P20 at the moment. Goes slightly wide there out of turn 2, but he's gotten away pretty nicely. Sitting just ahead of Brett Taylor. And not too far behind John Gallen. Oh, that's a big slide there at the bottom of the hill. We've been speaking about it. Get that braking marker wrong, and you can just have a very, very easy moment down there. That could have been disastrous if he wasn't careful. He's managed to tidy himself up though, only losing 1 position out of that as we ride on board. That could have been really, really bad if he hadn't have pulled it up. That was great car control though, off the mistake, being able to catch the car as you feel it going. These are the sorts of skills that these guys have got that other racing series might not have, because they're so committed to driving in this series and they're so committed to doing well. Unbelievable stuff. So we come down now towards T1 once again. We'll go back up with Darren Goosey for a moment here. Check out how he's travelling. We'll see him come up from behind the trees as he does there. You can see the tyre marks there that William just left from the previous lap. Oh, bit of a tight one here. Matty McMillan. What's happening with him at the moment? I have to wonder if he's got to slow down. Having some problems there himself. Oh, what a great camera angle that is, just on the inside of that corner. Just come up through the undulations. Let's check out back up towards the top of the field. Troy Sipple, we see him here coming around the final corner at the moment. Doing very, very well. He's come across the line to start lap 11, or lap 12. Sorry, I'm reading it. I'm reading my lap counter wrong. Lap 12. So they make their way through. Up towards through the S's now. Making their way around the track. Sorry if I'm not as lively right now. I'm trying to figure out our timing tower at the moment. It's still not working for me. So we go up towards Mark Houghton, leader of the championship, remember. Currently sitting in 6th place. So we're coming now towards T1. Roll bar cam. Look at the smooth wheel work here from your championship leader. Unbelievable effort from him at the moment. So they come down now towards what I would call turn 3, but they probably call it turn 4 because of the slight kink. Make their way up now through the S's. What a great shot that is, seeing all the way down at the bottom of the hill. Check out Scotty Van Loon. You can see him there. He's kind of hanging on with the leaders a little bit. But it is about a 4-second gap up to Brian Minogue in P1 at the moment for him. So if he's going to want to be able to get back up towards the front there, he's going to have to start making some moves just to get back up there today. T1, T2. Up through the forest section now. Nicely through there, doing very well. As we just check out now, Brian Minogue, you can see him here, he's built just a slight gap to Stephen Grech here, but he is beginning, well, it's beginning to look like a foregone conclusion at the moment here, but anything can happen in vets. We saw last week, and we even saw the week before with Simon Heddersheet and Mark Outen. Minogue's been up there though. He's been very, very close the last couple of weeks. So I'll be very interested to see where he can end up today. After this race here at Rudskogan Motor Centre. So come round now through the forest, up towards the bottom of the hill. Let's really check out Todd Duggan back here. That Nova car as they come around now, bottom of the hill, through the long sweeping right-hander up towards the S's. Through the next couple of corners now, he goes. Nice and smooth through there, right in the curbs just a little bit, but trying to stay as clean as he can. Comes around now towards the final corner. I'll tell you what, that is just how quick this lap can be over. Around about 1:20. Just check through the field now. Mark Peck, P8 at the moment. Doing very well for Peck. He's starting to build a slight gap back to his teammate Troy Sipple just in behind. As they make their way through the course once again. See a little dab of the brakes there as he's coming up through the right. Up through the S's now. As I said earlier, just such a great little section of circuit here at Rudskogan. So go on board now, roll bar cam. So they make their way down the bottom of the hill. Check back here, Gary Buckland currently in P12. 5 spots up from where he started this race, so doing a very, very good job. Speaking of big movers at the moment, John Gallen up to 18th place. 8 spots up from where he started. What a fantastic effort from him so far. See him just in behind Adam Simpson. Got Peter Baxter and Will Munro right up his clacker at the moment. So these guys are really going to try and put the pressure on. As we see Baxter now checking, just sort of sniffing on the inside coming into this corner. But, oh, he's going to take advantage now. The pressure getting to Gallen and Baxter making the moves down the inside. He put his car where he needed it to be now to take advantage of such a mistake, forced the mistake, and then made the move. What a fantastic effort from him. These guys having a fantastic battle at the moment as they come round down towards the bottom of the hill. We might stick with this battle for a little bit because this is looking like a tasty battle as Gallen gets the position back from Baxter, who makes the same mistake at the next sweeping right-hander. And you have to wonder if these two come together. You know, you got Will Munro, you got Damien Cross, you got Brett Taylor just in behind. These guys all want to be able to take advantage of this. So they're going to try and stick with Gallen and Baxter at the moment to try and get the moves done. So we come up now through T2. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, I apologise for the lack of timing tower at the moment. I am trying to rectify this issue. As we see Baxter down the inside of Gallen once again. Same corner as last time, but instead of forcing the mistake, he just makes the move. As Gallen's going wide, once again, we see Will Munro here down the inside. Can he get the move done on Gallen? Coming up through the S's? No. He needs to be careful here, though. He's in a bit of a KFC zinger sandwich at the moment between Gallen and Cross. Have to wonder. Gallen cannot afford to back Will back into Damien. He's just kind of hope that Damien can get the move done so he can keep pulling him forward here. Oh, what a massive pirouette there from Will Munro. Unbelievable, but he manages to get it back around. What a move coming up the hill. Very, very lucky not to bin it there. He's done well to catch it. Unbelievable stuff. You see there, as it always does, the zinger box gets to William and it ends in fiery disaster. Did someone say KFC? Unbelievable. Wow, what a mistake by him. Unbelievable. Let's see, Peter has begun to just pull away slightly now from John and Damien. These guys will want to work together to try and get back up towards him now. But of course, Damien's got Brett Taylor just in behind. Peter up 3 positions at the moment. John Gallen up 7 positions in P19 at the moment as it stands. We'll just check out the rest of the field at the moment. Troy Sipple, as we said, P9 at the moment, up 2 spots from where he started. And to give you an idea on this, P3 down to P6. So Scotty Van Loon, Todd Duggan, Paul Burns, Mark Houghton, all still where they started in P3 down to P6. So those guys, they're kind of just following each other around at the moment, trying to get up back towards the front, towards Brian and Steve. And Steven. As he comes around T2 now. Let's check out Mark Peck, his teammate, just 4 seconds up the road, coming through the first sweeper up towards the S's. As Will Munro has just made his first pit stop after his little escapade that he made for us just then. So let's check out Paul Burns. Just up a little bit further, still ahead of Mark Houghton. As I said, these guys, they're kind of just getting into their groove at the moment. There's some little pockets of gap starting to build between these guys. Not a lot of opportunity to get the slipstream around this track. The only real spot you can do it is down the first straight and then down that second straight after turn 2 down towards turn 3. Oh, as we see, I thought Mark might have made a mistake then, but no, he was just coming into the pits. And I tell you what, that caught me out last night as well when I was doing race control for split 3. I thought someone just straight lined the corner and went in the wall, so it's caught me out once again. We'll go up now back towards our leader, Brian Minogue. You see Stephen Greck just beginning and, you know, just starting to stay with him a little bit here. not wanting to let him get too far away. So these guys currently in a league of their own at the moment. And they're just starting now to pull away. See him coming up through that second long right-hander. I have to wonder when these guys are going to want to pit. As they're coming through. Not pitting just yet, so they're going to keep going here for another lap. Unbelievable stuff. As we're now coming up currently on lap 22, so they've got about 2 laps to go until they want to start coming into the pits. And just to give you an idea, because the timing tower's still not wanting to work, Todd Duggan up into P3 at the moment, 11 seconds back from Stephen Grech. 11 seconds. That is the gap these guys have built. Now, yes, some people have come into the pits at this moment in time. And this will likely be a 2-stop race. But even to the fact that Todd was in P4, and he's 11 seconds back. That's how big the gap has grown over the last couple of laps. Coming up now through the final corner to go down the straight. See more and more people coming in. Paul Burns into the pits now. Just follow along with Todd for a moment. Go back to Troy Sipple. He's coming through turn 2 at the moment. So Paul Burns, Matty Monday, Craig Healy, they're all currently in and around the pit lane at the moment. They're all just starting to ease into this race now. We speak about, over the last couple of races, that sort of awkward period in the middle of the race, where you're just kind of doing laps. You know, you're not quite halfway there, but you're not quite close enough to the end, sort of deal. So you're doing one more lap after one more lap. Once you get past that halfway point, these guys will be thinking, okay, only so many laps to go. And every lap they'll be ticking over going, all right, only so many laps to go, only so many laps to go. Or this is how many laps I've got to catch the guy in front. Or this is how many laps I've got to defend for. And they'll get closer. And the truth is, I know from my racing experience, the closer you are getting to the end, it does seem like the laps are blowing by. It feels like they're taking less and less time to get through, because you're getting, I don't know if it's eagerness or if it's sort of just that knowing that the race is going to end, that they then all sort of think, we're nearly there. So go back up now to our leader, Brian Minogue, Stephen Grech. These guys still hanging around each other. They have started to get up to some lap traffic now. They're just coming up on Mark Houghton, who has pit in this race. So as Adam Simpson just comes in now, so to update the people on who have pit. Adam Simpson currently in the pits. Scotty Van Loon in the pits. Mark Houghton has been in the pits. Mark Houghton has been in the pits. Paul Burns, Mark Peck, Craig Healy, Matty Monday, Damien Cross, and Will Munro have all been in the pits. As we go on board now with Adam. Oh no, Adam's already in the pit. Sorry, that was someone else coming to the pits then. Just go up here, Peter Baxter. Still out there. Just letting Brett Taylor by. Oh, it was the leaders. Brian Minogue. So Minogue, Duggan, McKee, Lanyon, Peter Latham all in the pits now. So now Stephen Grech is the current leader of this race. He is the current leader, the one who started on pole. Can he do what Hedishi did back at Phillip Island? Get the overcut done on Minogue to claim back the lead of the race. These two guys have been in and around the front of the field all season long. Can they remain there? Just come up round. You see some of the guys coming out of the pits now. Stick on more with the leader now. Stay with him until he goes into the pits. Back up now. Move towards the final couple of corners. Cool, calm and collected as Stephen Grech at the moment. Coming through that last corner. And he's in. He's coming in now for his stop. See him coming in now. Let's keep an eye on Brian Minogue. See what happens to Grech. Up now through the section. So Grech, Sipple, Goosey and Baxter all pitting this lap. Grech still in the pits at the moment. Is Minogue coming around the final corner? What's going to happen here? Is Minogue going to take back the lead of this race? He's passed. Yep, he's passed. Back in the lead of this race. So Grech is going to come out now. We see a little bit of smoke in the pit bay there, so I have to wonder if he might have rushed the acceleration out of there. But Minogue, and he's got a hell of a gap back to Grech now, so that was fantastic. A fantastic effort to come out of the pits and to push to not only retain the lead of the race, but also build the gap up. 7 seconds now back to Grech from Minogue. 9 seconds back to Hedersheed, but he's yet to pit. Van Loon in 4th, Duggan 5th, Houghton in 6th. As we will follow Minogue round. Round and round he goes. So Minogue now has the lead of this race. Once again, we'll check back through. So Hedesheed, still yet to pit. Has not pit in this race. He's currently up 20 spots from where he was. So it'll be very, very interesting to see where second place in the championship can come out of the pits. Speaking of the championship standings, let's go back. Mark Houghton, still P6 at the moment, just in behind Todd Duggan. He's going to want to try and hold on here to the back of Duggan. Tell you what, guys, we're going to take a quick ad break and then we'll be back with you shortly.
The ever-changing weather around the world. Ever-diverse terrain and roads across the world. With Kumho Tire that has conquered all. There is no road you cannot go. Go with Kumho. Kumho Tire.
Welcome back to the vets. As you see Minogue coming up on the back end now of Will Munro to try and lap him here at Road Scoogan. See, William will have the blue flag, I'm sure. I'd like to take this moment in time to thank our sponsors, Kumho Tires and Logitech. Player One Simgear as well. They help bring V8 veterans to you guys, so massive appreciation goes out to them. Check out some of the battles happening throughout the field. So we see Hedesheed still yet to pit. He's got Van Loon just in behind in that Pack East performance car. So we'll have to see as he lets Van Loon pass. So I have to wonder why he's done that. Maybe that was in need of a redress. Or maybe he is actually going to be coming into the pits at the end of this lap as they come around the final corner. No, Hedesheed continues on. He keeps going. So another one of his interesting plays or tactics that we could see unfold here. Surely be something to keep an eye on. Check back through the pack a little bit now. Oh, Steve Lanyon in the wall! Let's check out through the back of the field now. See Will Munro coming through towards the bottom of the hill. Just got the leader just in front of him now, Brian Minogue. who is blinking once again. Someone say KFC. It's John Gallen. Coming through T1 at the moment. Brett Taylor just in behind, as well as Matty McMillan. He's just in behind Michael Power at the moment. 6 spots up from where he started. Let's check out Matty Monday, Fishy Motorsports, as he comes up through the S's now. I have to wonder, this part of Norway is a massive fishing area. Maybe that'll play into Matty's hands throughout the rest of this race and make it a bit lucky for him. Possibly even for his teammate Adam Simpson. We'll have to see what happens. Peter Latham, Shadow Racing, just in a bit of an old mate and son sandwich right now between Gary Buckland and Darren Goosey here. This is the battle for 11th place at the moment. We see Latham blocking quite well here. They come through turn 1. Nice and smooth from these guys. You'll love to see this sort of racing. So they make their way down the hill. Just see them through the trees. Up through the S's now. See Darren just kind of having a little peek there at the outside as a possibility. Of course, we saw Darren have a pretty good day out last week at Road America until it all just went sideways for him towards the end of that race, but he had an incredible showing. Hopefully he can back it up again this week and finish in a quality position. Looks like he's got some good pace behind Peter at the moment. Let's see if he can take advantage. Let's go up towards Paul Burns now, currently P8, 3 spots down from where he started, so he's just going to want to try keep his cool, keep calm, and collect himself. And he could be out for a cracker of a race. As we are on lap 33 now. Just comes up through the S's. Let's check out Simon Heddersheet. Still yet to pit. So you have to wonder if he's going for a 1-stop. We are past the halfway point of this race now, so you'd have to assume if he's made it to this point on 1 tank of fuel, he's going to be able to do this in 1 stop. You see Mark Houghton. I'm sure he is super eager to get past Heddersheet at this point. Oh, as Heddersheet goes wide, letting Houghton down the inside. Bit of a mistake there from the two. These are the two guys fighting for the championship at the moment. Of course, Houghton P1 in the championship, Heddersheet P2. They come up through turn 1 now. Round through the long sweeper of turn 2. So now go down towards turn 3. Let's get a different camera angle for this one. Big, hard on the brakes. Bit of trail braking as they come around this corner as well. Can even blip the throttle as you come up the hill, just to keep the car on that edge of grip. Through the S's they come. Top of the hill. You see some of the cars there going down the main straight. Ooh, was that a bit of a slide there from Heddersheet? As he lets Lorne McKee around the outside. He lets him go. So I have to wonder if he might be fuel saving a little bit here just to try and gain that extra lap or 2 on the rest of the field. Final corner now. And he's going for yet another lap. Let's check up forward. Todd Duggan just coming up towards T1 now. He's got about a 15-second gap to try and get back up to Brian Minogue in P1 at the moment. If you see him here, he's still got that 6-second gap back to second placed Stephen Grech. Might just take a moment here. We'll focus on crashes. You never know what we're going to see happen. Although it may jump around a little bit. But we want to try and find the exciting, hard, fast action. John Gallen just in behind. Two of the WKMP cars there. Of Matt McMillan and Michael Power. Got Brett Taylor just in behind him. As they now come up towards the S's. I thought about the comparison to this track today. This track is, it almost feels like a real roller coaster ride. The elevation changes, the sweeping corners. There's a couple of hard braking zones, but not really. It just feels like when you're on a lap here, that you're right on the edge of grip and that you're right on the edge of putting your car off track into the wall. It can be so difficult to maneuver sometimes, but when you get that lap right, this track feels great. Has a great flow about it. I hope we can get more and more races through other racing series to race here as well, because I think it'd be great to see a lot of different makes racing here. It's great to see the supercars here through the veterans. So I mean, some real hard, fast action here today. Just some great tight-knit battles, you know. We speak about those little pockets of cars that kind of hang around each other for the whole race. And they end up having these little mini battles. And these are battles that you could picture being for the lead of a race one day. Or on any other day. These guys are pushing so hard. They're practicing so hard all week to try and perform at the highest level they can each race. And it's an incredible effort. And it's all a little bit of a block up there. And it is an incredible... It's an incredible viewing, not only as a broadcaster, but as a viewer as well. You know, it's great to see these guys. You'll see Simon Heddersheet is now in the pits just quickly here. So he has now taken his pit stop. He's in about 16th, 7th spots up from where he started. It'll be interesting to see where he comes out now, down to 18th. Where will he come out? He looks like he's going to drop 3 more spots. He's going to come out of the pits in P23, it seems, as he comes out of the pits now. P23. So he's actually come out where he started. So that's pretty good for him. He was a couple of spots down on that a couple of laps ago. As we see Adam Simpson just ahead of him there. Will Munro back in the pits now, as Adam just lets Simon go. So at the moment, the biggest mover in this race is Gary Buckland. 7 spots up from where he started in P10. Old Mate and Sons Racing. See, they're just sitting behind Mark Peck now. They've both gotten the job done on Peter Latham. So now you have to wonder if Gary's going to try and pull Darren forward and make their way through into the top 10. As we are now on lap 38 out of 62. As he's going to go for the move around the outside, possibly here on Mark. Heavy under brakes. Mark holding his line very, very well.
We see he's going for the switchback here. Gary's still on the inside. Mark gets inside of the next corner though, and he's kept the position. Great, close-knit racing from these guys. Unbelievable. Oh, but Mark, as I say, that has been spun round. He's got the car going, and then again, though, I believe... Well, there's a bit of smoke just up behind there. See, Marky is going again now. It's got Craig Healy just in behind. Taipan Esports GMK Logistics car. So they come over the line once again. Up towards T1. Let's check up again. Troy Sipple, Pecky's performance. Kind of in his own little bubble at the moment. 8 seconds to the car ahead in Paul Burns. About 6 seconds back to Gary Buckland in P9. Check out Mark Houghton, P5 at the moment. Got about a 5.5 second gap ahead to Todd Duggan. Almost 2 second gap back to Lorne McKee at the moment in P6. Minogue, still your leader of this race at the moment. Grec in P2, Scotty Van Loon P3, Todd Duggan P4, Mark Houghton currently P5. Lorne McKee, as that looked like somebody in the wall there, but I just missed it as I was reading current standings. Lorne McKee P6, Paul Burns currently P7, Troy Sipple P8, Gary Buckland currently P9, Darren Goosey P10. That is your top 10, although Darren and Buckland in the pits, so both the old mate and sons cars coming into the pits now as we'll just check in with the leader. As I think the safety car might be out. Yes, we're under safety car for a moment here. Also, just like to give a quick shout out to Parramatta Isuzu Utes as well for sponsoring the V8 Veterans. Massive appreciation to them. As we see him here just waiting for the leader at the moment. I believe he's just picked up the leader. Tell you what, guys, we'll go to a very, very quick ad break as the safety car is just beginning to go round. We'll hear from Kumho Tires. We'll be back with you in just a moment.
The ever-changing weather around the world. Ever-diverse terrain and roads across the world. With Kumho Tire that has conquered all. There is no road you cannot go. Go with Kumho. Kumho Tire.
We are back live here with the Kumho Tires VA Veterans Split 2. I'm now joined in the booth as well by Scott Rankin. Scott, how you going, mate?
Friends from ear to ear. But have a look at the difference in terms of race strategy as well. A lot of these guys have sensed an opportunity here to come in, get some fresh rubber on. Difficulty of overtakes is incredibly high here tonight. So fresh rubber, look, they've got to get this restart right if they're going to want to make the most of that fresh rubber. If they don't get it done straight away, they're going to be in for some hell. But then again, some hell makes some great battle packs.
Oh, that is 100% correct, mate. And I'm just going to apologise right now because I had you muted for the first half of what you were saying. But we're going to move on from that right now. It's a new system. I apologise for the amount of technical difficulties tonight, folks. I am going to try and rectify this.
Mate, you saw Greg Favell blow an engine last week with technical difficulties, mate. It happens to the best of us.
I know. I am... and then it's... My race labs won't even let me do it because I got SDK open, and I'm just like, But we're okay. We're okay. So...
Happy Friday. How was your Friday? You had a good week?
It was okay. It was alright. It was okay. Gonna be warm tomorrow where I am, so I'm not excited for that. But we get that in summer, so...
Oh, mate, yeah, it's going to be a heater here on the Central Coast as well for me. So, cricket tomorrow. I'm feeling good.
That's good. Fantastic. So 43 laps in at the moment, ladies and gentlemen. So about 20 laps left of this race as we just see the safety car letting some of the traffic go. And I tell you what, I drove the safety car last night for Split 3. Very disappointed I didn't get to drive it more, I gotta say. Just, I expected more. I expected more safety cars, but it was fun. It was good to see. And you know what? Even for Split 3, those guys have got a great level of competition as well. And you know, and I've been speaking about the last couple of weeks. The level of skill from the bottom split to the top split. It's so close, and you get the right or wrong pre-qualifying tracks for the season, and your whole league structure can change on a dime because all of these guys are so close.
Yeah, it's one of those things as well. I mean, from an administration perspective, the worst possible thing that you can have happen is somebody sandbagging in the middle of qualifying. I really don't think we have a lot of that culture. Like, the people that tend to be in and around maybe some younger guys, they're really looking to exploit the system. You don't get that in a Veterans League. And the culture that I've gotten out of the league is everyone's just here for a good time. The results are secondary, and the battles are really what they're chasing. But more importantly than that, the comments that you made about the safety car, a lot of people will tune in and know my racing exploits are very much into the, I'm not allowed to say the series that those cars are now in, but the Dallara racing cars within all of their oval sort of stuff.
Yes.
That's where my really big strengths tend to lie. This safety car is actually my favorite car in iRacing. The engine sound, the way that it behaves, the way that it rides the curbs. The new Porsche Cup car, oh yeah, it's okay, but give me this one back every day of the week. This is where my real love of cars goes. And I swear to God, if Chad is winding me up and telling me that somebody's about to spin this thing, I'm going to be so disappointed.
I'm going to be honest with you, and this is an inside source, folks. Right now, it's not a wind-up. We're going to stick with the safety car even when he pulls away here. And we're going to get him in at the end of this race. Because James makes a bit of a boo-boo. And the reason we're calling this out is because this happened to our very own Cam Veacock a little while ago when he drove the safety car. So, and of course, we like to have fun in the broadcast. Even though we try and be professional. But when this sort of thing happens, we got to keep an eye on it. And we got to bring it up, because it rarely happens. So we're just gonna and I'll tell you what, to break the fourth wall just a little bit, I will give you guys my best fresh opinion. He's got it around! Massive! Brilliant! Unbelievable. There you go. I gave you my best crash reaction, and he's just put it in the wall as well. It just gets worse and worse. But we'll go back to our leader as he tries to tell himself now. Brian Minogue coming around final corner as they come on to lap 45 here at Rodskogan Motor Centre. They're racing once again. That's a pretty good start there from Minogue just ahead of Greg. He's going to want to build that lead back up though, because now he's going to be under pressure for these next couple of laps.
Look at how deep P2 was into turn 1. We saw it with Anthony Visma in split 1. Made mistakes, went too deep. It was so critical to a lot of these guys, particularly on restarts. I was waiting for it on restarts to see if any one of these guys had actually learned in split 1 from the mistakes that Visma had made in that initial jump. And they all have. They got through there. There's slowdowns in that first sector. There's 3 separate slowdowns that you can pick up in the first sector. It is incredibly tough on a driver. Fresh tires, different grip level, and you want to cover your line. So it's very, very difficult to perfectly estimate the amount of grip you're going to have available and where you set the car up.
I tell you what, it is almost like, sort of a little bit like Bathurst. Just in, you come out of the pitch, you got those cold tires, you've got to be prepared for the track, and you've got to be prepared for those limits. This track, with its undulation changes and elevation changes, even though it's not a big 6 kilometre 2-minute lap time hill of a track that Bathurst is, you have those similar problems though, because of those long sweepers, because of those fast changing directions. You get those fresh tires into that first corner, and you miss, and as I've been saying, you miss that braking marker by just an inch. It can mean that you cut the next corner.
More importantly, Hamish, you're in a rhythm. When you're in race mode, you're in a rhythm. You know where the car tires are at. They go off a little bit. You sort of wound yourself up. You're really nicely in set. Then you break it up with a safety car. Everyone's got to switch off for a few moments. We talked about the physicality of this track, about the mental load that's going to be wearing on these drivers. It's a difficult prospect in a V8 supercar. A couple other cars really nature themselves nicely to this track, but a V8 supercar just does not do that. So,
I mean,
get back in the rhythm.
100%. And I tell you what, I've been saying the last couple of weeks, and I have been getting taken the piss by my mates about it, saying which tracks suit the supercar. This is not a track that suits the supercar. It's a track that suits cars like the Cup car, the TCRs, MX-5s, because because of how tight it is, but even just the fact of those elevation changes, as we've been saying. Supercars do not like elevation changes very much, because you put your foot down too early, the rear end's just going to come spinning round and round on you.
I don't actually think the elevation changes here with the supercar are actually the biggest issue. It's the constant changing of direction. We're going to head to Coda later in the series, and Coda's actually an easier track because there's a lot of braking up throughout the circuit. There's a lot of brake opportunities, and that's what actually makes Bathurst so easy to manage, because it's a rhythm, it's a flow track, and then you've got a nice breath. You can settle back in. You do not have that. You absolutely do not have any access to a brake. It's here. It's this run between turn 2 and turn 3. That's it. That's the only opportunity we get to small sip. You don't even have time to unscrew a bottle. If you're going to take a drink during the race tonight, you've got to have a pop top ready to go. You're going to have something, snap it off, squirt in the mouth, straight down again. You cannot afford to reach down and grab a bottle and unscrew the lid, because you will just dump water in it.
It's kind of like trying to race around, well, as we mentioned Bathurst before, it's kind of like trying to race across the top of the mountain consistently, lap after lap. No straights, no rest periods, as you said, or even racing in places sort of similar maybe to the Nürburgring. You know, you think about the carousel sections and all that sort of stuff, just tight change of direction sections of track. You don't get many breaks throughout that point of a track. This track does not lend itself well to wanting to have a break. You're on it majority of the lap. As you said, it's literally a split second that you get to have a break down those 2 straights. And even then, you're thinking about the guy behind you possibly having a dive into the next hairpin.
There's an opportunity to really give these guys that are watching along maybe a real good understanding of what it's like for a lap around here. Just grab a car, grab on for somebody. It's heavy braking zone down here into turn 1. Set the car up. You don't want to take too much of the curb on the left-hand side. Slow down on the left. Then switch it back to the right. Slow down on the inside, on the right-hand side. Slow down on the left-hand side. You can't run it all the way out. You've got to balance the throttle. You've got to balance the weight of the car through turn 1, through turn 2. Then it's down over the hill. We've had a little bit of a breather, carrying the brake. You can't use maximum brake pressure any of the way down through here. You really cannot stomp on the brakes. Then you're trying to keep the car wrapping its way in. You've got to carry a lot of brake along the way around. Pick up the throttle, balance it, left, right, and it's on and off the brake, off and off the throttle. Every time you apply both, you're thinking it through. Not too much power here through the tight left-hander. Too much power, the rear end's going to come around. Then we're going to crest this hill here. Oh, quick, we just got enough time for another breath. Now it's back. First gear, I don't know. Look, I don't drive a V8 supercar, and this is exactly why I don't want to drive a V8 supercar. I'm not good at this stuff. These guys are doing a phenomenal job, even if it's not the quickest times in the world. Keeping that car consistent over a 62-lap race is a nightmare. A little bit of curb on the left, not too much. You've got 2 lines in this last corner. You can either hug it tight the whole way around, or you can do a double apex. Drift a little wide in the middle, particularly if you're looking to set up an overtake on somebody. You need that extra drive off the corner. You can square it off, pick up the throttle earlier. Oh, that's a lap. We just got another break. It was 15, oh, it wasn't even 15 seconds. It was 3 or 4 seconds. We got to take a breather on that front stretch. And we're back into it all over again.
And that's why Scott does split one, ladies and gentlemen. Well done. That was unbelievable. I felt like I was driving the car then, and I could feel the pressure that you were building.
I can't do it, man. I'm not good enough in these things.
Oh.
I cannot do it.
I drive the supercar once a year, and it's the Bathurst 1000. And even then, I'm like, oh, I'm a bit questionable. I'm a GT driver personally. I do a couple laps in the supercar, but for a race setting, it's pretty much only the 1000 at this point. I commend these guys. These guys are committed, fully committed to these cars, this brand of racing. Not only that, this season of racing as well. As I've been mentioning, they practice all week, almost every day. You look in the Discord, and in each little team chat, there's always someone there, just having a crack in the practice sessions, trying to get their times down, trying to get their consistency up. And those are always the perfect balances for these supercars because they are so hard to drive.
Yeah, look, I mean, somebody that's very, very close and very dear and a big help to everything that I've done over the last 12 months, even 18 months, maybe a little bit longer, race controlling buddy, my crew chief whenever I go IR18 racing, open wheel oval racing, is Peter Baxter. He's actually in Split 2 this season. This is his first ever time that he's jumped into a V8 supercar, and the first words out of his mouth were, I can't do a lap. I can't do 2 laps. I can't do 3 laps. I can't put it together. And this is a guy who does endurance racing. He sits down and he puts lap after lap after lap of consistent pace, no X's. That is what he is fantastic at. He can't drive these things. Completely and utterly cannot drive these things. So we wanted to challenge himself this year. That's why he's here.
I tell you what, we've just gone on board with him, and we saw a battle he was having earlier with the Century Motorsports cars, and even just forcing the mistakes on Gallon in front of him. Great racecraft by him. You know, it's one of the smartest things you can do, especially in this series, is force the mistakes, because you make a mistake in this car, it can, you know, you try and turn the car around, you put that little bit too much gas, you then over rotate it. We speak about how hard these cars are, but not only that, how much effort it takes to drive them. Just commendable, absolutely commendable. I give these guys an absolute round of applause every time I see them drive, because it's an incredible privilege to see committed drivers racing in something that they believe in, which we don't have a lot of anymore.
Oh, look, I mean, the thing about V8 supercars is there's always going to be a community built for them. I don't see, about the only other class of cars that even competes with the V8 supercars in Australia is GT3s, and even the GT3s struggle. But every series that I've seen with V8 supercars, it's always full to the brim with drivers, chock full of talent. Oh! Speaking about talent, there was a lot less talent there for half a moment.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're 100% right, and it's not just forcing a mistake, it's forcing somebody to go 1 or 2 meters too deep. That may overheat the front tires, then they're a fraction wide at the next corner, and it's a Herman Tilke design track, and those features of a Tilke design track, think COTA, which is this sector that we're in right here, that first sector at COTA, the second kind of sector, depends how you...
Yeah, the fake maggots and Beckett's at COTA, that little S section right there, incredibly similar.
You can't push the car through any single one of those corners, because it's the same as at Suzuka, right? That's S is at Suzuka in the first sector. As soon as you're wide at one, you're wider for the next, or you're dropping time for the next. So it's basically like the level of risk and the level of pressure that you're going to put on yourself very light initially, and then you try and carry a little bit more speed a little bit further on through the combination. So thinking about how you're driving the car, thinking about how you're placing the car, and we've talked about the mental load, but then you tag a V8 Supercar. Again, man, look, yeah, I'm just not capable of doing that. You throw me in a Dallara IR18, I can do it every single day of the week, not a problem, but I just don't have the experience. I hope one day I can get to the experience, the level where I can just, put the car where I want it in a V8 Supercar. But man, I'm going to be honest, it's probably 18 months away if I was to start today.
I tell you what, these cars, they're like a total package needing of what you need to be able to drive them. Good setup, a lot of seat time in them, and also a great track to drive them on. Now, yes, the best drivers out there are able to drive these cars at any track. One of my favorite tracks I've ever driven in a supercar, and it might not necessarily lend itself well to the supercar, is Long Beach. I don't know why, I just find it a very satisfying track to drive in these cars, but I dislike Chicago. So, I mean, take that as you will. I'm more of a Long Beach man than a Chicago or a Belle Isle man. But, we talk about even real life supercars racing. The level of performance those guys need to drive those cars. People are always comparing drivers and always trying to say who's, Brock's the best or Lance is the best or whatever. Personally, and I don't like him very much, Whincup is the best supercars driver ever, just based on his stats alone and the fact that he did it in probably the hardest cars that there's ever been they've had to drive.
Oh, I disagree. I honestly don't think Whincup's driven the hardest generation of cars. I think the generation before the sort of
With that H
fade of
pattern
Lowndes.
still? Yeah.
Yeah, the fate of Lowndes, the pickup of Scaife, Ambrose, that sort of era. That's probably where the cars started to get a lot easier to drive, to be perfectly honest with you. A little bit before that, they were very muscly. You were seeing the guys wiggle cars around a lot more. I'm really, really looking forward to Gen 3 and what that may actually bring back to the supercars, because I think they've gone away from that. I think they've gone... Supercars isn't a series that needs to chase its international competitors by any stretch of the imagination.
No, definitely not.
And
There's always international guys that want to drive a supercar, or at least have an opportunity to at some point. And even then, local markets are still fantastic for it anyway.
Well, it's a very raw, rough, unpolished, and we've just gone in that really, really polished, that really finessed direction of late, where there's tons of downforce, there's tons of grip. I mean, you got GT3, you got classes like that. We didn't want to make that, and I applaud the steps that they've taken. I've really thoroughly been watching Brad Jones Racing's videos about building the Gen 3 cars from the ground up, when they talk about the piping for their electrical conduits, when they talk about the piping. I think the best part was actually watching them build the air spike piping to go from where the air spike goes in down to the jacks at the floor of the car. And they actually have to build that and bend that to a perfect angle and really build it up, and that's what they're talking about. When they get the frames of these cars and they go through a new generation, they're looking at how can they pipe everything to get it as low in the car as possible for center of gravity purposes. Now they've got a lot more restrictions on that. They'll sort of try and keep it as even as they possibly can throughout the different builders of the cars as well. But also it needs to serve its purpose and be in a way that if it does fail, it can be pulled out and replaced really, really quickly, or it's in a position where it's much harder for it to fail. So when they're designing cars like this, they're not just thinking it's got to have a roll cage, it's got to transition the weight properly, it's got to have good suspension. It's not just that simple. It's about the rates of how things can be changed, the ease of access to a lot of these bits and pieces and features. And they've made some really, really good developments in terms of the ability to pull off front and rear clips now, whereby if you just have a front-on accident with somebody, front-on accident, the wall, unbuckle, clip straight back on, subframe's ready to go. I bet a subframe on a motocross bike when I was 16, and that thing never straightened itself back out again. So you think about that from a car perspective as well. You're always driving with that little bit of right hand down, that little bit of left hand down. The bike's not, tracking quite the way you want it, but it's going to be there for the rest of that body's life. There's nothing you can do.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And, I mean, even the fact, the technology and how far it's actually come in these cars is, I mean, it's not on the level of, say, the technology that goes into a Formula 1 car, but it is still a lot of research, development, time in the factory It's incredible. I'm just going to quickly just run through the standings at the moment, just because we don't have the timing tower, just to give everyone an update. So currently on lap 55, P1 Brian Minogue, just ahead in P2 of Stephen Grech. These guys, is about a half-second gap between them at the moment. I reckon they're going to stay together for the rest of the race, and it might be one that we're going to keep an eye on. Scotty Van Loon, P3 at the moment. Todd Duggan, P4. Mark Houghton, currently in P5. Lorne McKee, P6. Troy Sipple, currently in P7. Peter Latham, up 6 spots into P8. Darren Goosey, up 6 spots as well, but in P9. Paul Burns, down in P10 from where he started, where he was in P5 at the start of this race. Craig Healy, P11. Steve Lanyon in P12. Simon Heddersheed, P13. 10 spots up from where he started. What a great effort from the Kiwi here today. Brett Taylor, P14. Mark Peck, P15. Matthew Monday, P16. P17, John Gallen. P18, Adam Simpson. P19, Matty McMillan. Finishing out the top 20, Gary Buckland. And just quickly here, final 4 spots, Damien Cross, P21. Will Munro, P22. Peter Baxter, we spoke about earlier, P23. And Michael Power rounds us out in P24. So, but these guys, incredible drivers, incredible racers, and I say the top 15 is anyone out of that top 15 can win these races. I'm going to assume it's the same for Split 1 as well.
Well, look, yeah, I mean, we've seen it. We've seen. I was really hoping that Visma was going to really get amongst it this week. We had a great opportunity for a wild card to essentially jump onto that podium. Obviously, Scotty's in the chat. Scotty Gamble walked away with it a little bit yesterday, but he was worried, extremely worried, was not comfortable with where he was sitting at the halfway mark, and Duggan really took it to him. It was an amazing race from Duggan, and unfortunately, it was where the most excitement was, but, oh man, that guy, he would have won the race. He lost 40 seconds to a pit lane penalty. He finished 40 seconds off the race lead. 40 seconds off the race lead. Man, I tell you what. But look at Simon Heddershield. He's a driver of a really, really big amount of talent. He also drives a lot of NASCAR, a lot of oval racing stuff as well. And he's actually not quite bad at that either. So he's got a lot of talent, a lot of potential, and loves things with big engines that go really fast. So, I mean, Heddershell's doing a great job. After coming into this round as well, there was a tie on points between Marty Hansen and Troy Sipple for P4. That's going to resolve itself. Gary Buckland and Damien Cross for P7. They were tied on points as well. There's a few guys that are a little bit up, a little bit down. But then when you get into the middle and the back part of the pack, everything just sort of condenses as it does, each way. One of the bigger things that I think I'm actually already talking to the guys about how we can get a graphic for it for Split 1 next week is the inconsistencies. There's been one driver who's had a consistent finish every single week he showed up, and that's Scott Gamble so far in Split 1. It's the inconsistencies that are going to let you down. You cannot afford to blink. Some weeks, you're just going to have to say, I've just got to make sure it's a top 5. A podium, don't worry about a podium. Bank those points. That's going to count at the end of the season.
Oh, 100%. And even as I said at the start of the season,
The guys who finish up the front one week and then finish in the, maybe the top 15 the next week, and maybe around P20 the next, those are not the guys who are going to be up the front at the end of the season. It's the guys who are consistently not just up the front, but in the top 10. Because you're going to see people drop in and out, a couple of drop rounds here and there. Some people may not show up one week or the next. It's the people that show up every week and that are up towards the front. Those are the guys that you got to keep an eye on. And as we say, about the top 15 in the order of any week can win the race. But it's, those guys like Brian Minogue, Stephen Grech, Mark Houghton, and Simon Heddersheed. Those guys who were consistently up the front these last couple of weeks, these are the guys that we're going to be keeping an eye on towards the later half of the season. There's 40 points between equal 4th place and 1st place in this championship. So it's incredibly tight. And I think it's going to stay tight for the majority of the season, if you ask me.
Well, you have a look at the points heading into last night from Split 1, and it was, yeah, sure, there's one driver that sort of leapt away from the rest of the field, but the rest of the field, there was nothing separating them. There was only a couple points, all the way down to 10th place. So every spot, whilst, you'll be like, it was the 4th place, I should have picked up a podium. Give me a 4th place. Give me a 4th place every single week. I'd rather have that than have the interview, because that's probably going to be good enough to guarantee me a spot on the championship podium at the back end of the season. the racing's been phenomenal. The back, the forth, the dip, the duck, the dive. And I tell you what, keep your eyes on this battle up at the front, because these two are starting to get closer and closer together as well. This race isn't decided just yet. Difficulty of overtake, I've got it. Oh, not extreme, but it's a moderate to high. It's like that fire safety rating. It's right up there.
Oh, 100%. 5 laps to go now. So they're all 4 laps to go now. Sorry, I'm reading the live time wrong. Lap 59 at the moment. Steven's going to want to try and push Brian here to force a mistake. He was able to do it at Phillip Island a couple of weeks ago. I don't know if he's going to be able to do it again today, but there's always that 50-50 chance that you can force a mistake on someone. One of my biggest things that I had to learn in my racecraft, or even just in my racing ability, just try and keep your car in that person's mirror, because eventually they're going to make a mistake. Unless they have got a perfect racing mindset. Oh, we see big dive there. Oh, that could have ended up really, really badly. Very lucky to come out alive on that one.
I'll tell you what, Hamish, have a look at the driver of the 10 as well. He's been setting this up. Did you see the difference in the approach angle to turn 10? He's closer again as they come down the front stretch. He went for the late apex at turn 10 so he could get really, really good drive off. He's targeting that move at turn 12, that really tight left-hander. It's got the little kink in it off of turn 10 to the left-hand side is turn 11, and then the 90-degree left-hander. I think that's where he's looking the strongest. I don't like the runoff of turn 2 here. I think he's going to be strongest in the middle of that. It's high. This is the easiest opportunity here, but it's not easy by any stretch of the imagination. So it's 10th corner of the lap looks to be a better opportunity with the way these two are driving.
Tell you what, you mentioned it's the easiest spot you can try and go for the move. It's also the easiest spot that it can end in tears for you as well, because you, as we've been saying, you go on that brakes a little bit too deep, you're going to smack bang right on the side of the person you're trying to go down the inside of. It's going to end in tears for the both of you. So Steven here, he's going to want to try and pitch a tent underneath that wing of Brian Minogue to get the perfect run into turn 10, 11 to try and get that move done that he wants.
Well, the thing there from Brian is he's approaching turn 10 very, very narrow. There is basically a half a car width, a little bit more than half a car width to his outside that he can use. There's a little bit more room. That says to me he's under driving the turn entry. There's a little bit more of time there. As a race car driver, you've paid for the whole track. You've got to go out there and use the whole width. If you're leaving width on the table, you're going to be weak. You're going to be vulnerable. And here it comes.
Let's watch it now. Greg, oh, he just backs out the last moment there. I have to agree with that decision there. I don't think that was a move that could have been done very, very easily. As it's just
Again, it's set up. Look at the approach to turn 1. He was deep defending his position down into turn 1. He was wide at turn 2. He couldn't get on the throttle early. It's coming. It's in the back of his mind now, and he's starting to play games with him down the inside.
Poking the nose there. Minogue very lucky to stay ahead of him as they come up now through the S's up towards the top of the hill. Little dab of brakes there as they come round. Minogue seemingly... Sorry. He's had the great defensive driving. I'm sorry, I just wanted to quickly mention, just he's trying to make sure he gets a better run out of corners. There's a bit of a slide there from Greg. I don't think he's going to be able to get the move done here this time, but sorry, just continue talking about the defensive driving for a moment there.
Yeah, because I was about to say, it's very reminiscent of Ty Burn from Split 1 last night. He had a whole pack of cars held up behind him, and you could see the pace differential. I would say that the P2 car here has absolutely got the legs. He needs to get this job done. If he gets around, I don't think that there's going to be an opportunity for the move to come back. So he's got to prevent him from getting side by side in a spot where he can get that move done. A little bit further back, P1's just overdriving maybe perhaps entries in a lot of places. Look at how wide he was at turn 2 there again, struggling to get the power down. But you've got to be careful. Can't dip a tire off outside that left-hand side white line off the exit of turn 2. It's still coming. There's still the aggression.
Ooh. And I tell you what, Greg's going to want to get the move done now because this is their last lap of the race. Final lap, ladies and gentlemen. We'll follow them now to the line. We're going to see who's going to get the win here. Will it be Minogue? Will it be Greg? Only a handful of corners left now. Running through here. Down the hill, big braking zone. Dangerous braking zone, in fact. As we see here, Grek trying to get up right behind Minogue. Can he get the move done before the end of this race? Sneaking through now. Two corners to go here, folks. Can Minogue hold on? Grek right up behind him. Round the final turn now. I don't think Grek's going to get him here. Or it's going to be right to the line, but today is his day. Brian Minogue takes victory at Rudskogen Motor Centre. And I tell you what, Scott, what a fantastic battle over that last couple of laps between these two.
Yeah, that was a phenomenal defensive drive. I think, though, in terms of things, Greg, I think he learned on that last lap what he should have been doing at the final turn to try and set up for the run, to be a little bit more in the mirrors and, you know, set up potentially an overtake. When you had a look at that last corner, he did that out in line, and again had a great drive off of the corner, but it was just really good car positioning. That's what it's about sometimes. Park the car in an awkward spot, make them do the work, and he just ran out of time to figure him out. I reckon 1 more 2 laps, he would have had him for sure.
Oh, 100%. And I'll tell you what, we got James Foster, our safety car driver, currently in the green room, as well as Scott Van Loom as well. So we'll bring them in just a moment. We'll just quickly run through the finishing positions there for this race. Finishing out the race, P1 taking maiden victory for himself. Brian Minogue finishes ahead of Stephen Grek in P2. Scotty Van Loon, P3 today here at Rudskogen, finishes off your podium. Todd Duggan in P4, just ahead of Mark Houghton in P5, your championship leader before this race. Lorne McKee, P6. Darren Goosey finishing P7. Troy Sipple finishing P8. P9 was Peter Latham, and Paul Burns rounds out your top 10. Craig Healy in there in P11. Steve Lanyon in P12. Brett Taylor P13. Mark Peck for Pecky's Performance there in P14 as well. Adam Simpson for Fishy Motorsports in P15. Matty Monday, his teammate, just in behind in P16. John Gallen for Century Motorsports. Did somebody say KFC in P17? Gary Buckland P18. Simon Heddersheet up 4 spots from where he started, P19. Matt McMillan there, P20. Damien Cross in P21. Will Munro from Infinity Motorsports finishes where he started in P22. In behind him was Peter Baxter, and in behind him was Michael Power. I'll tell you what, Scott, we'll quickly bring in... We got Stephen Grek, we got Scott Van Loon, and we got our safety car, shall we say, good driver or bad driver in James Foster. We'll quickly bring them...
Cut the grass.
Yeah, that's true. You know what? He can get the Lawnmower Man Award this week. We'll quickly bring them all in. As I just move them all in here.
Jimmy, come on, man. I just said on stream, that Porsche Cup car, that legacy Porsche 9, was it the... Oh, I forget what it's called.
The
now.
911 GT3 Cup car, I think it is.
Yeah, but it's got a name. It's like the 981 Mark 1 or something. I used to be able to say that. Like, I love that car. You've done me an injustice, good sir. You've done me a big injustice. You've put my favorite car in the kitty litter.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, it was just a case of a cold tyres and cold brain, I think. Just, racked up some practice laps prior to the race and learnt braking zones, and obviously that wasn't it. Went to turn into the corner, left front locked, and then the rear's locked, and there she was. See you later.
I'll give you a big tip. In these cars that don't have ABS and don't have traction control either, you slam the throttle and brake at the same time, and it actually straightens the car straight back out. Provided they're rear-wheel drive, doesn't work in the TCRs.
Yeah, all right. Well, I'll keep that a note for the next round. But I assure you, there is no intention to do a repeat of that in any further rounds.
Great to hear. Fantastic. Just quickly now, we'll start with Stephen. P2 today, mate. You almost had Brian there in the end. How was that last couple of laps for you?
Oh, mate, I was trying, but Brian was just too good. Couldn't get past him cleanly. Very hard race, mate.
Mate, I'll tell you what, you've been on my lips these last couple of weeks, as well as Brian, to be fair, and Simon and Mark. Where do you think you can see yourself at the end of the season in the standings, mate?
Well, hopefully we stay consistent. I mean, me and my team, our team, old mates and sons, we train really hard to do this. Michael Quain helps us a lot. Gary Buckland and Anita are right on my tail, so they keep me in check. So I think we can go all the way.
Fantastic, mate. We'll just quickly move over to Scotty at the moment, mate. Scotty, how are you there, mate, in P3 over those last couple of
And
laps?
that was in. And just on the safety car, commentators curse because you guys were talking up the Porsche and then it was into the wall.
I mean, that was true. We also did mention though that we had the inside sources that it was going to happen. So we wanted to keep an eye on that this week. But yeah, so how was the race for you, mate?
It was really intense, man. I've never experienced pain in my forearm like that before. I think 62 laps and here is probably a bit too long for us old blokes. But yeah, I came in on lap 18 or 19 really early for tyres. I miscalculated. I thought it'd be a 2-stopper. Safety car came out, 1 stopper, and then had to do 43 laps tyres, and I had nothing for Stephen and Brian at the end there.
I'll tell you what, mate. You had an incredible effort today. Absolutely massive commendations to you. We'll just quickly go to Stephen first. Stephen, you just want to give a couple of shout-outs to your sponsors and anyone else you want to give a shout-out to?
Yeah, mate. First of all, I'd like to thank the series sponsor, Kumho, Logitech, Player One, Parramatta Isuzu Ute. And I'd like to throw out a big thank you to Jamie McKnight for week after week putting in giving us a great setup. I'd like to thank my sponsors, Pagnian, Industrial Batteries Australia, Rams Home Loans, and again to Michael Quain. Without him, he's the glue of our team. He motivates us. He teaches us. Without him, this couldn't happen. And I'd like to throw out a thank you to my supporters at work, Jane Merritt and Narelle. That's all.
What was the team chat like last night with Michael opting to go on the 2-stop strategy? He obviously went hard at it and he thought he'd have something a little bit different. Was there a little bit of disappointment going on in the room? He had pace throughout the race, but we didn't get an opportunity to talk to him at the end.
We discussed it before the race, and there was 2 ways we could go, and I guess he opted for one, and I went for the other, and it just didn't work out for him. We just thought there was going to be more tyre degradation.
Yeah,
so, it didn't work.
That's been a huge factor over the last couple of weeks as well. I mean, you have a look at the pro split. I mean, talk to Scotty, you talk to any one of them, you talk to Ty Byrne, because that guy, I don't know how his tyres were not corded up at the end. The end of the last couple of laps there. How have the tyres been hanging on? It's a unique set of strategy that is going on here with the fuel tank not filled up all the way, so it does create some opportunities to look after the tyres. How are you adapting to the strategy as well?
Well, this week we sort of knew that the tyre degradation after 5 laps was going to be pretty substantial, and then we just have to slow our pace and stretch it. That's how we've been dealing with the tyres.
Yeah, there's not much more you can really do. They're just taking so much load around here. What's the feelings like? Because obviously that's sort of a precursor to Coda. Later on in the season, obviously Coda's going to generate a little bit more overtaking, but you're effectively feeling like the tyre wear is going to be much the same. The fall off pretty similar.
Oh, look, mate, we have a few different strategies. It just depends what happens in the race and what people around us are doing. So that's what gauges when we stop. And we're all on a learning curve. It's the luck of the draw, isn't it, sometimes?
I'll tell you what, driving these cars, you're always learning. Just quickly before we wrap up, I just want to go to Scott. Scott, anyone you want to shout out, any of your sponsors, your team, now's your time, mate.
Yeah, the same as Steve, like the series sponsors, Player One, Logitech, Parramatta Isuzu Tires, the series management, like Cam and Luke do a fantastic job, all the admin, race control, safety car drivers and new broadcasters, thanks very much. And from my team, Quantum Tint Solutions, Tim Nickel Photography, WO Reef Restoration, Pecky's Performance Racing, along with all my teammates in Discord, which makes the day go very fast. They're a great bunch of blokes. And last but not least, my wife for supporting me. Cold towels on my neck last night and making sure I was comfortable.
She sounds like an absolute keeper, mate.
Oh, she is, mate.
Fantastic.
She's a great girl. Yeah. And just on the tyre deck, like I went hard. I didn't try and save my tyres. I just went hard from get-go. Whatever happened. So, I don't know about tyre degradation. Just got hard, mate.
I come from a world of I've done a lot of NASCAR racing, and you can't hang on to the tires. There's no point even going out on track. So it's
Yeah.
really interesting to see the different strategies and the different ways it's gone. I think the setups are actually I can't say a big enough thank you to Jamie Knight either, because I
Oh,
think the
same.
setups
Yeah.
that he's coming out with they're not just good driving setups and good setups that make it easy for the guys to jump in the car, but they're good race setups as well.
Yep.
You can get a lot of setups that respond very
Great quality.
poorly to dirty air, for example.
Yep.
And that means you just can't follow anyone. You just end up with single file. But it's little different ways. Like you said, you're going hard on the tires. Somebody else is going softer on the tires, and it creates this really interesting chess game where everyone's trying to do something a little bit different. If you don't think you can overtake, you got to save fuel. You got to save tires. You're creating opportunities for yourself. Jamie's doing a bang up job with the setup.
Oh, Jamie's a whiz. I mean, I think I did around 45 laps on those tyres at the end. So, yeah, kudos to him for setups.
Absolute kudos to you guys as well, and big thanks to James as well, mate. Thank you so much for
Cheers, boys.
for letting us poke
Yeah, good on you,
fun at
James.
your mistake, mate. Really appreciate it. I don't know if anyone will forget about that for too soon, but
No, James and Cam now. They're two of a kind.
they're going to be best friends forever now.
Absolutely.
All right, thanks a lot,
Absolutely.
guys. So I'm just going to move you
Good on
out
you,
of here
fellas.
now. Cheers for that.
Cheers, boys.
Oh, that was a banger, Hamish. That was an absolute banger, mate.
I tell you what, apart from STK doing me absolutely dirty by their servers not wanting to load for me, that was a great race. And we saw it through strategy, through those little pack battles as well. I'm super excited now for next week at Bathurst, because I think it's going to be an absolute banger of a race.
Well, I think it's something that we touched on the Split One broadcast is that I've never personally been able to make myself comfortable in a supercar at Bathurst, and we've obviously already talked about the deficiencies around driving styles and those sorts of things. But there's setups where I've felt close, and then the instant you find a setup that makes you feel comfortable at Bathurst, generally they're like a second slower. So I'm really curious. It's a very fine line to walk, and we all know that Bathurst just does not have that room to walk a line. There are going to be guys who are just mega quick. You're going to have your guys that are sitting on Bathurst in your back pocket. There's going to be somebody that's normally sitting around 18, 16, 17, 18, somewhere in there. All of a sudden they bang it out. They're in the first couple of rows at Bathurst. So there's just that level of participation across the series, man. Like next week could be anything. You could see absolutely anyone winning, and you could see the leaders down the back on raw pace, and that's just where they are sometimes with Bathurst. That's what happens when you go to the mountain.
I tell you what, though, as well, you speak about those guys who really come alive at Bathurst. They could also be those guys, though, that don't necessarily have the best racecraft in the standings. So you have those guys up the front, but then you have massive drama up the front as well, because these guys are trying to maneuver around each other. There are some guys out there who, whenever they practice, they only go for lap times, and then there's guys who try and go for stints. So it's going to be interesting to see where those people fall into at Bathurst. Are they going to be that good combination of quick at Bathurst, but also really, really impeccable racecraft, or are they going to be slightly slower Bathurst, but with good racecraft, or even the opposite end of the spectrum as well? So I'm super excited to see what happens next week. Bathurst, even though it can be a very overhyped track, it is always an exciting race to see, and especially coming up as well with the Bathurst 12 hour happening fairly soon as well. So I'm incredibly excited to see it.
Yeah, man. What's the deal with Split 3? Because obviously this is my first time in and around the booth, and Split 2, Split 3 night. So what happens now? Because it's a lounge?
So I believe Split 3's lounge it should have already started. Yes, they're in their Split 3 drivers lounge section at the moment. So now that we've finished off this, anyone who's still viewing this, go check out Split 3 drivers lounge if you want to just see a bit of a chilled out conversation about the Split 3 race. It was very interesting to watch from a race control perspective last night. So I would highly recommend that people go check that out. But just to give a quick shout out to the series sponsors of Kumho Tires, Parramatta Isuzu Ute, Logitech, and Player One Simgear, I believe it is. Thank you so much to them for sponsoring. This has been the Kumho Tires V8 Veterans Split 2 Round 4 at Rudscogan Motor Centre. I've been Hamish Munro. That's been Scott Rankin. We appreciate your time coming to see us today, and we'll see you guys next week for